So right now we are on Eastern Avenue. We're just under a half-mile away from Sheriff Road, which is where you turn to go up into that facility. But you can see here, sheriff's deputies have the road closed. So this is at Mariana Avenue. We're on the south side, south of that complex where the sheriff's station, the LA County Fire Station, as Mark was talking about, they all have their headquarters up there. On the other side of Eastern Avenue, also worth noting, LA County Office of Emergency Management is there. So large complex here. We've talked with deputies. We also saw CHP at the road closure as well, that were saying only emergency vehicles are being allowed right now. We've seen a lot of county vehicles leaving the area, driving south away from the sheriff's headquarters. Also want to point out, again, we're less than a half mile away from there. And I was just talking to people who work nearby who said that they actually, some of them did hear some sort of sound this morning, a sound of an explosion or some sort of blast. They still aren't sure what it is. From here, you cannot see up to the facility because it is up on the hill. So even as you've seen in that video from our crew that is up the road right at the entrance heading up into the complex, it's very difficult to see anything from the street because it is all up at the top of that hill. So of course, SkyCal's video is really helping to tell the story of that Special Enforcement Bureau for the Sheriff's Department. Their facility, as we've mentioned, the SEB is a highly trained part of LA Sheriff's Department, their version of the SWAT team. So again, we've seen some vehicles coming out of here, county vehicles that are leaving, as we're hearing that they may be evacuating. The people who work nearby here have told me that they heard they may have to evacuate, but they have not been given orders to do that just yet. But at this point, right now, Eastern Avenue from where we are is closed off, leading up to the sheriff's headquarters where this incident happened earlier this morning. So we're keeping an eye on things. We are trying to get access. I will tell you guys that most of the time when stuff like this happens, we are given access as news crews to go up and get closer than maybe the public will sometimes. And at this point, they are keeping us far away from the scene, which is unusual, telling us, of course, the severity of what happened there this morning. So working to get information from here, trying to find witnesses who may have heard what happened this morning. But again, several people saying that they did hear some sort of blast or explosive sound this morning. Jamie and Sheba, and we'll be here trying to get more information for you.
Okay, Rick, I want you to stay with us just a second, but if the audience is just tuning in, sure. Thank you for watching KCAL News Mornings at 9. We are on a breaking news situation in East LA at a training facility. Rick, with the sound that people heard, do you know approximately how far you are from that explosion?
So it may be closer than this, but by road anyway, when I was looking at the map, it says the next intersection, which is where you turn to go into the facility, that is about 0.3 miles away from where we are. And then it's a bit further up the road. So that lot, though, we believe is right in that area. So not too far, less than a mile for sure. But again, a lot of this area goes uphill, so it may seem further driving. Sure. But that property is just behind these businesses here.
But to hear that neighbors heard it, right, and you see how big this training facility is, it must have been quite the explosion.
Absolutely. All right, Rick, thank you so much. Right. We're going to get back to you in just a few. We continue to follow this breaking news, of course, getting word just a few moments ago that 3 sheriff's deputies were killed in this explosion in East LA. Yeah,
it's been a tragic morning, and as we continue to see, there's a lot we still don't know, and as they are keeping people away and potentially having more people evacuate the area, it seems like they don't have a full grasp of what exactly took place here. We do want to get to Mark Liu now for the latest from the desk.
Yeah, we've been following this here at the desk, Jamie and Sheba, since we first heard the radio traffic that LA County Fire was tasked to respond to this very large LA County Sheriff's Deputies training facility at about 7:30 this morning for the report of a very loud bang. And it's being described as an explosion that could be heard by people that were indoors. Now, the first arriving LA County firefighters, they say they needed paramedics there for at least 1 injury. That was later upgraded to 3 injuries. And now we have confirmed with an LA County Sheriff's Department spokesperson that 3 deputies have been killed in this explosion. This was at what you had mentioned was an SEB training facility. That's Special Enforcement Bureau. That's essentially the LA County Sheriff's version of the SWAT team. LAPD calls it SWAT. It is essentially a tactical weapons team. The LA County Sheriff's Department calls it SEB, or the Special Enforcement Bureau. They do essentially the same job as a SWAT team. Now, apparently the facility that was used for SEB training, it's unclear if those deputies were part of the SEB team or if they were just deputies that were either training to be a part of it or deputies that were here doing something else. Either way, they've been killed with an explosion. It was described as an explosion that was outside in the parking lot. We saw some evidence of that with SkyCal. There seems to be some debris near one of the large trucks that's over there. I'm going to take you to some live pictures on the ground. This is not far from where Rick Montanez was just doing his story. Essentially, the facility has been evacuated. Our crew on the ground, we have some live pictures to show you. This is near Sheriff Road and Eastern. This entire facility is located near the 10 and the 710. And we have seen multiple instances of vehicles that have departed this facility as part of an evacuation protocol. If you come out to my screen, I'm going to show you on my map essentially where this is and give you a better idea of where the focus is. Okay, so here's downtown Los Angeles. I'm going to zoom in here on the facility. This is where the 10 and the 710 meet right here. There's the 710, that's the 10, and this is the entire campus that we're dealing with. It contains aspects of both LA County Sheriff's Office of Administration and also internal services down here, fleet management. But the focus right here is on the parking lot. That's what we saw with SkyCal. I'm going to zoom in and sort of give you a focus right here. Our ground crew being tasked with doing the work of showing that evacuation right here at the corner. We have not had any further access to get in this way. That's where the bomb squad and the rest of the LA County Sheriffs and even CHP is responding to assist in this investigation. We believe the explosion happened in this parking lot. LA County Fire has their headquarters right here, so very likely they were able to get firefighters on scene. There's actually a fire station in the area. I want to say it's right down here. There's a fire station, so very likely firefighters were on scene very, very quickly. But unfortunately, they were unable to save those 3 deputies who suffered injuries in this explosion that ultimately proved to be fatal here. So this will be a long investigation into what's happening down there.
And Mark, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sheila.
Of course, they're doing very serious types of training here, but in recent memory, can you think of something dangerous or fatal happening at a training facility like this?
I mean, we have. In the past, there were incidences where there was a situation, I'm trying to remember, it was in the last couple of years. There was one where LA County Sheriff's deputy was in Castaic. It was in the Castaic area. It was in April of 2024 where a deputy died. It was up near the Pitchess Detention Center in Castaic. There was a incident where a deputy was using a mobile firearms certification vehicle. What that is it's a long big rig where they actually do firearms certification in the cargo area. It's basically a shooting range inside of a cargo container that they can drive to different sheriff's training facilities. And there was a deputy who was killed when there was an explosion in that due to some gunpowder. There was also an incident where some SWAT officers, I believe, died in a training facility in Irvine is what it was. It was Orange County sheriffs that died in a training exercise down there, and that was also in 2024. But to my knowledge, this is the first time that we have seen any sort of injuries resulting in a fatality at this particular facility here in East LA. And it appears, again, to focus on this area right there. That entire parking lot has been roped off, and we have seen some debris on the ground there, shattered windows and what of the vehicles involved.
And I'm reading on the facility's website that it looks like those could potentially be bomb squad vehicles in that area. Do we know at this point if they were handling any type of bomb-making materials or what type of training they were doing? Yeah,
we don't. Those do look like bomb vehicles or bomb squad type vehicles as well. They're far too short to be a firearms certification unit, which would look more like a big rig with a large-sized cargo area in the back, like you would see transporting those large big rigs you see on the freeway. That's what is used for firearms certification, mobile firearms certification training. Those are a lot shorter. They look like box trucks. Those certainly could be what the bomb squad uses. It's unclear right now, but certainly whatever was involved here was something that involved a very large explosion, certainly enough that unfortunately it caused 3 deputies to die from that blast.
And we're also just getting word, Mark, that the FBI is now part of this investigation. Does that seem routine here?
Well, the FBI has an extraordinarily well-trained bomb squad. Their bomb disposal tech and their bomb investigation teams are the best in the United States. So we have a very large FBI contingent here based out of the federal building down on Wilshire Boulevard in West LA. If they are responding, their bomb squad, their bomb techs here, that will be basically an elite investigation force. Also, if they need any sort of a diffusal of any sort of unexploded devices here, the FBI bomb squad also would be an expert at doing that as well.
Have we seen any type of statement or anything from Sheriff Robert Luna at this point? Just even something brief of what's gone on? It seems interesting to me that we learned about this about an hour ago, that something had occurred at this facility. And obviously our reporters are working to confirm a lot of this information. Mark's working to confirm a lot of this information through his sources. But have we seen any type of official word from the Sheriff's Department itself while the Attorney General of the United States is posting on social media?
We have not from Sheriff Luna, and my guess is that he is down there. That would be his very first priority. If 3 of his deputies had died in an explosion, he is probably at the lead of the investigation, coordinating the command staff here and making sure that everything they need is provided for them. He also has the extraordinary, difficult job of informing those deputies' families that they have passed away. So those will be his first priorities, very likely, before doing any sort of statement. There is a public information office that is operated by the LA County Sheriff's Department. That's who we at the desk coordinate with during times like this. They are extraordinarily busy. I can tell you that I've called them multiple times in the last 90 minutes, and the deputies there have sounded very stressed, the ones that answer the phone at the public information office. I feel like they are under a lot of stress right now. They, too, are trying to gather information and process the information from their own agency in order to release that information to members of the media in a timely fashion. But they, of course, are dealing with the same constraints of the investigation. They don't want to release anything that cannot be made public yet, but they are very forthcoming when it comes to providing that information as soon as they can.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. You're getting us so much information. We also have a crew on the scene. KCAL News reporter Rick Montanez is in East LA. Rick, tell us again where you are in relation to this facility.
So, Sheba, we're just south of the facility, about less than half a mile, and we are on Eastern Avenue, where the road is closed here at Mariana Avenue. You see the Sheriff's Department out here. CHP was out here. They left. Another CHP cruiser came through. This is where we're seeing a lot of the emergency vehicles that are heading up into the LA Sheriff's Department headquarters up here. Also, we've seen several people leaving and some county vehicles leaving from this area. So I was talking with several people who work nearby. Some of them, most of them, I should say, did not hear any sort of explosion this morning, but 2 women were telling me they work in a warehouse where there's a lot of heavy machinery, so likely the sound was just muffled for them, but they did hear that they may ultimately be evacuated, as the Sheriff's Department's still figuring out what exactly is happening, if there are any other unstable explosives or anything like that up at the facility. So these people who work here nearby are saying that they're kind of on standby. They may just shut down their business for the day for the safety of their employees, just to be safe and be out of the way from the Sheriff's Department. And you see some generous neighbors here, businesses that are bringing water to these deputies. Again, we've got to remember that the Sheriff's Department is actively working this, but knowing that 3 LA County Sheriff's deputies died this morning in this explosion. So just a lot going on here. We're working to get more information on where exactly the facility is in relation to the front of the complex and where we are right now. But I can tell you we're not too far from it. And some people here did hear an explosion this morning. But the road closed here as they're not letting anyone up right now.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Rick. We also have another view a little bit closer to the facility where we've been seeing cars leaving, clearly evacuating if they're not essential, it seems, to this investigation. Are you still seeing a steady flow of cars passing where you are?
Yeah, we are. We're seeing every so often, we're seeing a few more cars come out of the facility coming, again, it's to the north of us, so driving south here on Eastern Avenue. And for anybody who has not been up there, again, this is a very large complex, and it's quite a bit off of the road, so and up at the top of the hill, so it takes a bit to get there. So that's telling when you see that they're trying to get people away from there. They're keeping us this far back, even though if we were up much closer, it's still quite a ways off the road to get into that complex to where this incident happened this morning.
Yeah, and we see more people gathering around you. I'm sure people in the neighborhood are just, many of them, as you said earlier, heard that explosion. Tell us more about people who are telling you about what they heard.
Yeah, I was talking to a few people who were here at the business. They said some of their coworkers inside were able to hear some sort of blast this morning, that it wasn't terribly loud. But again, they're inside these buildings. So for some of them, if there's noise inside work, they can't necessarily hear it, but they can also, that's again telling of how loud it may have been for some of these workers, that they heard something even though they were inside their office building at a considerable distance away from where this happened. That complex, I want to point out again, on a hilltop. So all of us, we are down from where that area is.
We appreciate your insight. We'll check back in with you in just a bit. We are getting reaction from local officials. LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger just issued the following statement on this tragedy. She says, quote, "I am heartbroken to hear of the terrible tragedy that has unfolded today at an LA County Sheriff's Department facility. I'm closely tracking the situation as we learn more about what occurred and the condition of those affected." And then we have another continued statement from Supervisor Barger saying, "My heart is heavy and my thoughts are with the brave men and women of the Sheriff's Department during this difficult time. We stand with them and their families as they navigate the hours and days ahead."
And Supervisor Hilda Solis is just releasing this statement saying, quote, "I am deeply saddened by the tragic incident that occurred this morning at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in the training facility in East Los Angeles. My heart goes out to the families, friends, and colleagues of the 3 individuals who lost their lives in what appears to have been a devastating explosion." I do think about, I think about Catherine Barger, who's been through the fires, has been at the forefront of a lot of the ICE raids that have happened in her district. And now to have this type of situation unfolding, just such a tragedy of these 3 law enforcement officers. Robert Luna, the Sheriff Robert Luna, just last night discussing some of the Department of Justice and the turmoil going on within the department of being asked for certain documents and that type of thing, his focus being there for that, to now have to turn his attention to this right now. It's just been a lot for the county.
And just a chaotic morning. There's still so many questions here about exactly what happened, if the facility is safe for those who are still there. Of course, this investigation continues, and we know that 3 deputies were killed. But as Rick Monson has said, he's still seeing people evacuate from this area. I'm sure there's so much fear for people who are nearby, whether they are at threat, which we haven't gotten an official word from the sheriff's office of what they want people in the area to do. But as we've heard from Rick, a lot of people nearby did hear that explosion to varying levels of intensity, depending on where they were and what kind of facility they were inside of.
And you think about the sound of that, to be able to hear, as Mark was reporting a little bit earlier, that people were saying that they were indoors when they heard this explosion. While it may not be very far away in terms of mileage to the facility, you can see it's a very complex facility with lots of different hillsides and things of that nature as people try to get in and out of this particular area. So it's one of those things. I find it interesting that we're about an hour in here. There must still be just so much they don't know, that we're not getting official information or confirmation about what exactly has taken place, other than 3 deputies have died. And obviously with the evacuation, they likely concerned that maybe there is some other type of situation that could unfold, that they're having to go ahead and take a look at and make sure that everybody is safe in the surrounding area. The facility did open around 6 a.m. this morning. This happened a little bit after 8 o'clock this morning. So it had been open a little bit more than 2 hours. So you have to imagine there were a number of employees who had showed up to work. Obviously, it sounds like these deputies may have been in a training situation. So you had people actively working on the site of the facility when this did occur.
Right, and since we don't have official word from the sheriff's office, as you said, the facility was already open. They could have been in a routine training exercise that has just gone wrong, or there could be something that was, planned or more nefarious. We really haven't gotten word on that, but let's get over to our Mark Liu. What are you hearing now, Mark?
Well, I'll tell you, in the absence of a statement so far from the LA County Sheriff's Department, one of the things that we've been doing here at the desk, the work that we do, is to be able to listen to the radio traffic of LA County Sheriff's deputies and LA County Fire as they were responding to this. We have a system here at the desk that allows us to record and play back radio traffic in real time as it happened. And, you know, when this initially was called out on the scanner at 7:27 this morning, it was a very, very small piece of radio traffic to LA County Fire that essentially said there has been a report of an explosion at the LA County Sheriff's Training Facility, and that was it. There was really not a lot of alert regarding this, probably because people weren't really sure exactly what had happened here. But I can tell you that for the next 35 to 40 minutes on the LA County Sheriff's frequencies, there were multiple requests over 35 to 40 minutes of more and more units to respond to the facility, including supervisors, lieutenants, units that were perhaps from out of the area to respond, as there was a growing realization that what had happened here was an extremely serious event. We now know, unfortunately, that 3 deputies died as a result of this outdoor explosion in this parking lot at what is called the SEB facility, which is the Sheriff's Enforcement Bureau facility. That's like their SWAT team at this training center. So our crew is on the ground. You saw Rick Montanez in one location. We had a ground crew at another location there at Sheriff's Road and Eastern, seeing lots of people exit this facility, and multiple law enforcement, including the CHP, who are lending their assistance here. This is that crew that is on the ground. A live picture at the corner of Sheriff and Eastern, Sheriff Drive and Eastern Avenue. We are seeing unmarked vehicles go in. We now know, as you had mentioned earlier, that the FBI is sending resources here. Federal agents are on their way to assist with this investigation. No information yet at all that this was any sort of a criminal act. This is being described right now to me from spokespeople as some kind of an explosion, possibly an accident. So there's no search for a suspect here. There's no evidence that there was any sort of criminal intent at this point. And as you had mentioned, the U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi has also been notified of this, and certainly is lending the support of the Justice Department, probably in the form of FBI agents who have been dispatched, authorized to come here. They have a very, very good bomb disposal and bomb investigation unit that could be on their way here as well. And of course, there's LA County Fire, Urban Search and Rescue that is here. They have I believe they have a fire station. Their headquarters are right here, and I believe LA County Fire Station Department 1 is almost directly opposite of the parking lot where this explosion took place. So they very likely had LA County Fire paramedics on scene immediately, which again is an indication that unfortunately the deputies that were killed here sustained injuries that were probably fatal instantaneously. They were unable to be saved. There was no reports of any transports from this location, so we don't have anybody being taken to the hospital. Lights and sirens, which shows the magnitude of this explosion. Again, this is SkyCal video of that area that we have seen deputies focus on. Now, SkyCal actually had to depart this scene because of fuel. They ran out of fuel. They've been flying all morning. They are now on their way back, and they should be on station here in just about 10 or 15 minutes. So we'll be able to get a live look from the air of what the investigation looks like now, which is a significantly larger operation than it was just 45 minutes ago because of the amount of law enforcement that's arrived on scene.
Yeah, Mark, I'm looking too. It looks like the governor's office has also been in contact with the LA County Sheriff's Office and is offering its full state assistance at this point in time. So you have a lot of different state and federal agencies now looking at this and helping. We know the FBI also has offered its assistance and will be a part of this investigation. You know, when you think about bomb squad training, it is so intense. I think, you know, it's one of those things maybe we as civilians sometimes take for granted that this type of training ends up taking place routinely for these law enforcement officers. They have to, you know, have knowledge about what they're doing. They have to understand the explosives themselves. They get trained on specialized equipment and employ tactical procedures. There is sometimes handling of these types of explosive devices within that training, Mark.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, here in Los Angeles, it was just about 4 years ago, almost exactly 4 years ago, that we saw one of the most extraordinary moments of an accident involving the bomb squad when the LAPD bomb disposal unit truck exploded due to a miscalculation in June of 2021. That was when the LAPD had seized a large amount of homemade fireworks in a South LA neighborhood, and there was a large pallet of homemade fireworks that unfortunately the bomb technicians at the time really vastly misjudged the power and the capacity of those homemade fireworks to explode, and they loaded far too many into the explosive vault of that bomb disposal truck. It looks like a very large big rig. It's got a large safe, almost like a cement truck. And it's designed to be able to have fireworks or other explosive devices go into that large safe in the back and then explode them. It contains that explosion. It safely detonates those explosives. Well, in this particular case, far too much was loaded into that bomb disposal truck, and it destroyed the truck. Now, it injured 17 people, including 10 law enforcement officers and 7 residents at the time, damaged 22 homes. This was an extraordinary incident for the LAPD and their bomb disposal techs. But in this case, just to highlight how dangerous it is, what bomb disposal techs and bomb disposal training is all about. It's a deadly amount of explosives almost every single time that they're dealing with on a daily basis.
Well, and it's the success versus failure rate is very thin line there, if you think about it. I haven't been able to find specific facts to the Los Angeles County bomb squad, but the FBI does have a really interesting breakdown of how they go about in these types of training situations and what's involved in it. And what sticks out to me is that all bomb technicians for the FBI are certified through a vigorous 6-week program and then have to be recertified every 3 years. So this is something that is a continual training process. You don't get to just kind of, do it once and then never have to do it again. I'm being told Rick Montanez is at the scene and has some new information. Rick?
Yeah, Jamie, we're here with Sergio Palacios, who works up near where this happened, to give us kind of an idea of it's away from where we are on the north end of the complex.
Yeah, correct. So I work for County of LA, ISD, and just north of it there is the fire department, and then there's a sheriff's training facility, and then there's the Biscaloo Center. So I don't know exactly where it's at, but from the reports from all my coworkers, just heard a loud boom, and next you know, this place was covered with sheriffs.
You were describing to me that you've been here for several years, 20 years or so, right? And so you've heard this training that they do here on the facility. You hear the blast that happened during that training, but this, from what your coworkers and colleagues were telling you, this was different.
Yes, one of the guys said he was inside because it's a big facility, and usually when we're outside we'll hear practice rounds and so forth, and but unfortunately he was inside and he heard a loud bang from inside the building, which caught his attention. And yeah, by the time he went out, there was I guess sheriffs on site, and so he just stayed his distance.
Yeah, and we're talking about, of course, how difficult this is for the sheriff's department to be out here working. Even for you, for someone who works nearby, I mean, hearing that 3 deputies were killed in something like this, that's got to be difficult.
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was just, unfortunately the families, and my heart goes out to them, and just prayers for the family, and it's just definitely a sad day for a lot of the guys that found out so far. 3 sheriff deputies passed away. Yeah.
Sergio Palacios, thank you so much for talking with us. I appreciate it. I know you have to get going, but thank you for your insights. And as he goes, because I know he's got to get to some things here, but we again want to show you that we're out here on Eastern Avenue and Mariana Avenue. We're south of the facility, and you see the sheriff's deputies here. They have the road closed off. We've got an LA County fire truck just driving up into the facility. We've seen a lot of these vehicles coming up and into that area. But what I wanted to hear from Sergio was what stood out to me is the fact that he said they've heard training happen at this facility a lot over the years. So they know kind of what that sounds like. The explosion, we know it was very different today. Tragically took the lives of 3 sheriff's deputies here at the facility just north of where we are. But, the Special Enforcement Bureau, we know they are highly trained. So it really, a lot of people are going to be wanting to know exactly what happened at the facility. Last thing I want to tell you before I send it back to you, these businesses here, they said that they were told that they may have to evacuate, but now we're hearing that they were told by the sheriff's department they are fine to stay here for now. So there's a lot of things changing. Some businesses were even thinking of shutting down for the day. So, that's kind of where they are at this moment. We'll keep you posted as soon as we learn more information.
Now, that's a good update. I do think it's fascinating, too, Rick, with what you did here, that they often hear these types and that this one was different. So thank you for that. We will check in with you in just a little bit. We are getting, though, a statement just now from LA Mayor Karen Bass. It reads, the city of LA is supporting the LA County Sheriff's Department through this horrific incident in Monterey Park. LAFD ATF, arson investigators, and members of the LAPD bomb squad are assisting at the training facility. The thoughts of all Angelenos are with all of those impacted by this blast.
And we got a statement earlier from LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger. She said, quote, "I am heartbroken to hear of the terrible tragedy that has unfolded today at the LA County Sheriff's Department facility. I'm closely tracking the situation as we learn more about what occurred and the condition of those affected. My heart is heavy. My thoughts are with the brave men and women of the Sheriff's Department during this difficult time. We stand with them and their families as they navigate the hours and days ahead." And Supervisor Hilda Solis just released this statement saying, "I'm deeply saddened by the tragic incident that occurred this morning at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Biscali Training Academy in East Los Angeles. My heart goes out to families, friends, and colleagues of the 3 individuals who lost their lives in what appears to have been a devastating explosion."
We are getting in some other social media from, you have DHS Secretary Kristi Noem just sending out on X, what used to be Twitter, saying they're working with state and federal law enforcement to respond to this explosion at the LA Sheriff's Department. Updates will be provided as they become available. Pray for our law enforcement and their loved ones. Attorney General Pam Bondi has also again put out more information saying she just spoke with Sheriff Luna and that they will have the FBI and ATF headquarter agents on the ground to support. She also says to please pray for the entire Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. So you can see how both local, state, and federal officials are gathering here to figure out exactly what took place and what may have gone wrong as these 3 deputies have died.
And our Rick Montanez was just speaking with someone nearby in the area who was telling us they hear things at this facility all the time. The loud noise that people are telling us they heard around 7:30 this morning, this one felt different, and clearly it was. It's about 2 hours from the reports of that loud explosion that everyone's been telling us they heard, and it is interesting. We still haven't learned exactly what happened. The sheriff's office hasn't confirmed that there is still a threat in this area, but it was very important that Rick said a moment ago, businesses nearby in the area are telling him they've been told that they can stay in business today. They are safe to stay in place, which tells you the sheriff's office feels there's not an immediate threat to buildings nearby.
Which is good because that is a significant change from where we were just about 30 minutes ago or so. We do want to welcome you in if you're just joining us now. It is just about 9:30 on this Friday, July 18th, and we are continuing to cover this breaking news of these 3 deputies killed in this explosion at an LA Sheriff's Department training facility. This is in East LA. The mayor saying in her statement that this is located in Monterey Park, which does border the city and is in the east part of the city as well. And as we've been talking about, the city has been through so much over the last 6-7 months. Another incident that is gaining attention across the country as we learn to try to figure out what possibly happened here. We are now joined live by Clay Cranford. He's a former Orange County Sheriff's Department sergeant. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
So you're the founder of Cyber Safety Cop. Can you tell us maybe what happens in these trainings? I've been trying to find information. I found information from the FBI, but not necessarily local sheriff's office training.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. The explosive, ordnance demolition, they're the guys who go in and secure objects that may be dangerous. They're not sure. Sometimes they know they're explosive, and so they have to take those and contain them. And sometimes they have to do a controlled demolition of them. And so they have to practice those things. And so that's probably what happened here. They probably were training and practicing a controlled demolition of an explosive device that they probably created. And, these things don't happen very often. That tells you that these are very professional, people working in this area. And because they're professional, these things typically don't happen, but they can happen. And sadly, maybe this is what happened today. But, they're definitely going to be looking at this and making sure something like this doesn't happen again.
Right.
Sure. And as you're saying, this is rare that something goes wrong. But in cases where something has gone wrong, what has happened? What has been the problem?
Well, Orange County Sheriff's Department, recently had something like this where they were they were practicing breaching doors, and there was just a malfunction. It just the detonator or the explosive device didn't quite work properly, and so there was some minor injuries. I mean, those kinds of things can happen when you're doing these dangerous type things, and so the training has to be as close to real life as possible. But you don't want to make it too real, right? You don't want someone getting injured, and yeah, so I mean, usually these things boil down to something was missed. Maybe there was some protocol that was maybe not completely done correctly. I don't want to speculate. Again, these are really great professional people, and usually there's a mistake made somehow.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part, right? And you think about how many trainings do take place and the recertifications that happen and all of those different things. The fact that, as you pointed out, we don't hear about this more, I think speaks to the level of training these officers undergo. Can you talk a little bit about, I was reading sometimes robots are used. There's safety equipment that the officers put on in these types of things. What safety measures should have been in place here to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, so if in fact it was a controlled demolition, a controlled explosion of a device, perhaps, obviously there has to be a safe distance, there has to be a barrier between you and that device, and it could be that they were setting this up and they were in a situation where none of those things were in place, and if that's the case, then typically there's some piece of that process that was missed. I mean, if they are assembling this, training situation and there was an opportunity for that to detonate, then there was a piece missing here, and perhaps that's what's happening. They were too close. There wasn't a barrier between them and the device, and perhaps that's what happened.
Yeah, and it's so tragic. 3 sheriff's deputies lost their lives this morning. It is a reminder, I think, though, for the general public of how dangerous this task is, this job they take on is. Tell us more about what kind of sheriff's deputies work in a facility like this.
Well, they're going to be people who are highly motivated, highly trained, and usually people in this particular area are handpicked. So they're going to be people who have showed an aptitude to these types of things. Obviously, it takes a special person to want to get close to an explosive device. Obviously, they use robots and other things, but you need to have a certain level of being comfortable that close. That's not something I was ever interested in doing. But I've gone through explosive training classes, and it gave me a really profound respect for these devices, and that you think you might be far enough away when these things go off, you may not be. It's really beyond kind of what we see in the movies or what we kind of understand how these things work. It's very kinetic, and unfortunately, if you are not behind something that's going to stop that or far enough away, then you might be injured or worse.
To me, when you hear of an explosion, I was saying earlier, you kind of immediately want to see just how big the explosion was, if it had damaged vehicles, buildings, that type of thing. In this case, it looks like it's a relatively small area, which is a good thing. Still tragic. We've lost 3 deputies. Does that tell you anything in terms of just how big this explosion was?
Well, no, that's kind of the reality. I think we have the general public have a perception about what these things look like based on what we see in movies.
Right.
And really, in real life, a small, it kind of depends on the compound that they're detonating, but there's a lot of energy. It's propelling, maybe some shrapnel, faster than, thousands of feet per second. So it's like being shot at by a gun. But in 360 degrees. So it's very different than I think what people understand. But again, the farther away you are, the safer you're going to be and behind a barrier. So if you can see it, it can see you. That was something they told us all the time in these situations. And again, if you're up and close and you are handling these things, you're so close that a relatively small explosive device, it can be fatal.
Yeah, and Clay, we haven't gotten word from the sheriff's office, of course, on details of this explosion or whether there's any continuing threat to the area, but our reporter Rick Montanez was speaking with people and business owners nearby just a few moments ago and told us some of those business owners were told by officials that they were fine to stay in the area. What does that say to you?
Well, it tells me that, it is appearing to be what we think it is, which is a training accident, that there's not an ongoing threat. And if it was an ongoing threat where maybe if you had somebody, an actor planting a bomb and detonating it, which of course there's no indication of this whatsoever, then you might be concerned about secondary devices, and that would be a case where you'd want people to shelter in place. And clearly that's not what's going on here, but those are good questions to be asking in these situations. But it appears from the initial report that they know exactly why this happened. I mean, in terms of the circumstances, now we need to understand, why it happened.
Yeah, and I think that is something that will be at the forefront of people's minds as this investigation kind of continues. We are only about an hour and a half in. Is this kind of where you expect us to be in terms of the investigation?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to shut down that area. They're going to have a nice big perimeter to make sure that they can collect all the evidence and truly understand what's happening. And I'm sure these facilities have CCTV, so that's going to be very helpful.
True.
But there'll be a very detailed investigation here, and when these things happen, and thank God they don't happen very often. When your law enforcement are training to protect you, the public, even those training situations are not safe. I mean, they're putting themselves in the line of fire literally every day, in multiple different types of situations. So we just need to make sure, again, when they look at this, there's going to be a very extensive debrief and making sure that procedures are in place so that this can't happen again.
How does this end up impacting, other people at the training facility? I have to imagine, as we said, this is pretty rare that this has occurred right now. But now that this has taken place and there are 3 deputies who have died, can you speak to kind of the psychological impact to the rest of the facility, which is a very large facility?
Yeah, it's a tremendous blow, especially in those training facilities. These are people you're working with every day. I worked in the training facility with my department, and so these are your family. You see them every day, and when you lose someone like that, it's sudden and it's heartbreaking. It disturbs you to the core, and every police officer, every sheriff's deputy is going to be feeling this, and especially. One life is one too many, but 3, it's hard to wrap your brain around the emotional toll that this is going to have for the people who work in that facility, who work with those great people every day. And then just by and large, you just, as a law enforcement officer, and you put on your uniform every day, you just remind yourself, they're like, wow, not every day is guaranteed for you when you go out and you do that job.
And an important reminder today for the public that is what our sheriff's deputies and law enforcement are doing for us. Clay, we appreciate your insight so much as we follow what's happening, this tragic incident this morning where 3 sheriff's deputies lost their lives. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. God bless those guys.
Yes, absolutely, and their families. Let's go ahead and get a check now with Mark Liu. Mark, what new information have you learned?
Well, SkyCal is now back overhead. They have completed their refueling mission at Van Nuys Airport and arrived overhead. And now what we are seeing here at the center of your screen is certainly a member of one of the bomb disposal technicians, one of the bomb disposal teams that is here. This is one of the technicians. They are approaching what I did suspect to be the focal point of this explosion, and it's this large box truck that is here. Now, SkyCal had made several orbits before, and I just spoke with a member of the crew of SkyCal, and unfortunately, there are bodies there on the ground. They do appear to be covered, but we're going to not show you that right now because it is a pretty gruesome scene down there of those 3 bodies. And one thing that I wanted to note is when we looked at the video, it appears that these bodies at points appear to be more than 20 feet from each other.
Oh my goodness.
So this explosion,
was a huge explosion,
was significant enough that it appears that they were thrown quite a distance from where they were standing. These 3 bodies are not near each other. 2 of them are. They appear to be approximately 10 to 15 feet away from the right side of that van, but a third looks to be almost 25 or perhaps 30 feet away from that van. On the opposite side. They're on the opposite side of that van from the perspective that you see now. And we saw that bomb tech in that full armor, that full body armor that is so unique to bomb disposal teams, going in behind that van. Now, that van appears to have side doors that open away from where we are looking. They open on what would be the passenger's side of the van. That cargo area has swing doors that open, and they do appear to be open. So it appears that the way to access that box truck would be to go in from those side doors. So it could be what that bomb tech is now looking at to look inside there. We also did see a very emotional moment just a few moments ago when members of the LA County Sheriff's Department embraced each other as they approached the scene. So they are going through, of course, the heartbreaking loss of knowing that 3 of their co-workers and their team members have now died in this accident. Again, these appear to be members of that were training with the SEB facility here. That's the Sheriff's Enforcement Bureau. That's LA County Sheriff's version of SWAT, as you would know it, more commonly known as SWAT in other cities, including the LAPD. It's a very specialized and elite unit within any law enforcement department, and certainly the members of SEB at LA County Sheriffs are among the most elite law enforcement in Southern California. But tragically, 3 deputies died here. They are sworn deputies. These weren't civilians, from what we understand from the statement we have from the public information officer at the scene, told our reporter Jeff Nguyen that they were sworn deputies, and they are essentially behind that white van that you see there on the ground. So we now know that a bomb tech is now investigating the focal point of that explosion right there. We don't know what agency that bomb tech is from. We know the FBI is there, and certainly LA County sheriffs have their own, and there's also allied agencies that may be assisting, but they are conducting their work there in their parking lot at the training facility here at the 710 and the 10 in East LA. It's called the Biscaylas Training Center for LA County Sheriff's Deputies.
Yeah, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi just said that ATF will also be involved in this situation as well, Mark. So as you said, we don't know which agency is in particular investigating at this point, but what you said, seeing some of the images of other personnel now come up and likely learning the names of their coworkers at this point in time at the training facility. We don't have that information yet. It's going to take some time to notify, next of kin and let people know exactly what transpired here. But you have to think about that. You always talk about in law enforcement, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood, and as we just talked to our last interview, it's just going to be devastating for this training facility to have something of this magnitude happen, as he described in other incidents. While tragic, maybe one person dies, to hear that 3 have died at this particular training facility will be a really big gut punch to this group.
Absolutely, and it's just a reminder of the dangerous, of course, training that they do at facilities like these and that our law enforcement take part in to keep us safe. So it is a very sad morning here as this investigation continues to unfold. We have been getting word from officials, local and federal, this morning. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has commented on the situation. Here's what she said on the screen. She says she spoke with Sheriff Robert Luna. We have FBI and ATF agents on the ground to support. Please pray for the entire Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
We also have been getting statements from local leaders as well, including LA Mayor Karen Bass, which reads, the city of LA is supporting the LA County Sheriff's Department through this horrific incident in Monterey Park. LAFD, ATF, arson investigators, and members of the LAPD bomb squad are assisting at the training facility. The thoughts of all Angelenos are with all of those impacted by this blast. And LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger just issued the following statement as well, saying, I'm heartbroken to hear of the terrible tragedy that unfolded today at the LA County Sheriff's Department facility. I'm closely tracking the situation as we learn more about what occurred and the condition of those affected. She continues saying, my heart is heavy and my thoughts are with the brave men and women of the Sheriff's Department during this difficult time. We stand with them and their families as they navigate the hours and days ahead. Of course, we've had many conversations with Supervisor Barger over the last several months with everything happening here in Los Angeles. Supervisor Hilda Solis just released this statement. I am deeply saddened by the tragic incident that occurred this morning at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department training facility in East Los Angeles. My heart goes out to the families, friends, and colleagues of the 3 individuals who lost their lives in what appears to have been a devastating explosion. Now here's a post from Alex Villanova. He's the former LA County Sheriff who ran the department from 2018 to 2022. He's saying, quote, prayers for the 3 sheriff's deputies killed, their families, co-workers, and all those affected by the tragedy at the training center in East Los Angeles. All right, we do have crews on the scene. Our Rick Montanez is nearby the facility. Let's get back out to him. I know you've been speaking with people who heard that loud explosion more than 2 hours ago now. Rick, what's the latest from where you are?
Sheba, the road's still closed here. We're still seeing emergency responders heading up into the facility. We're also seeing some people leave the area. And then, people are trying to figure out what exactly is going on. They're stopping here at this road closure to ask questions. There are neighborhoods on the other side of this closure, so some people are trying to figure out if they can get home. One man was telling me his grandmother usually takes the bus through this way to get home, so he was concerned. Of course, there hopefully will be some detours in the area, but people are still just trying to figure out what's going on. Of course, with this large-scale investigation and potential for any more danger at this facility, certainly they are keeping people away. They're even keeping us news crews away when a lot of times we do get special access to get closer to certain situations. But when it is a matter of safety, we certainly stay further back, which is what's happening here. So you see some of the sheriff's deputies who are doing their work trying to talk to people who are trying to get through here. It's got to be difficult for them because, again, as we know, 3 sheriff's deputies lost their lives, and these other deputies are still here serving the community, doing their jobs.
Yeah, I also want to bring up earlier the man you were speaking with who worked nearby in the area, and he was saying he hears noises from this facility all the time, which is just a reminder that people in this area are used to the facility being there. They're hearing noises, and they said that this loud explosion this morning just before 7:30 immediately felt different to them, Rick.
Yeah, Sheba, this entire complex, as we've been talking about, there's a lot of different county departments that work there. And so the man I was talking to earlier works nearby, and he says that for the last 20 years that he's been out here, off and on, he's heard training, and he can tell what the training sounds like. His coworkers who heard the explosion this morning say that this, they immediately knew was something different. And when they went outside, they could see all these other sheriff's deputies. They could see the fire department rushing in to go try and help as much as they can. And so his coworkers knew immediately that this was something certainly much more extraordinary than they're used to hearing. But regularly, they hear that training there. They hear some of those explosions or things like that. I know you were talking with people earlier, interviewing others who have more expertise in this type of thing, but where they, want to make a real-world training experience. And I've got to say, Sheba, I've interviewed and talked with several members of the SEB over my 10 years here covering news in Los Angeles, even the head of the department who I remember not long ago telling me just how specialized these crews are. I mean, these are the guys, the men and women who will go out and do helicopter rescues. They will go out and respond to situations, standoffs, and the most dangerous situations that can happen in our county. They are trained, highly elite, trained crews that will go out and do this. And so there is training that happens at this facility as well. So you've got to wonder what exactly went wrong to cause something on this scale, this tragic, for the LA County Sheriff's Department.
I know, it's almost as if when you think about the specialized training, how hard this is all the time. The fact that this is something that doesn't happen very often. These men and women are so specialized and so good at what they do, and we don't know exactly what took place today, what caused the blast itself. But Mark Liu was just telling us while we were in Rick's live shot there that it does appear that doors are open on a bomb squad truck from what you can see from SkyCal, Mark.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is live pictures here from SkyCal over the training facility there in East LA, the Vasquez Training Center. And SkyCal is going to stay wide with this zoom here because, unfortunately, the bodies of these 3 deputies are still down there. They are covered, but it is a pretty gruesome scene, so we don't want to zoom in too closely. But what SkyCal is doing, the crew there is showing that bomb squad technician there with that full armor is now returning from interacting with that white truck and getting a look at that general scene where the explosion took place. Now, SkyCal was able to do the best zoom possible they could on the side of that white truck that appears to be the focus of this investigation, and it does very clearly say LA County Sheriff's Bomb Squad on the side. There are several other large trucks down there. One of them says hazmat. Another one is a mobile command post. Those do not appear to be involved in any way. The focus is entirely on that large white box truck there that says Bomb Squad. It has doors on the cargo side that open on the passenger side. Those doors appear to be open, And now you can see that bomb squad tech is behind the safety of that LA County Fire unit and is now debriefing with probably other members of the team and other members of LA County Sheriff's command staff. Now, these bodies of the 3 deputies that are down there are sadly not close to one another, which gives an indication that the size of this blast was enough to essentially push them away from each other in a manner that ultimately they ended up dying from the force of that explosion. But I did see with SkyCal that we'll have some video for you in just a second of that bomb squad technician making a complete orbit around that bomb truck, looking at various parts of it, very likely to inspect it to see if there is any unexploded ordnance or devices or anything down there that could be dangerous. They really cannot approach this scene. They cannot even approach the bodies of those deputies until they are absolutely sure that everything there is safe. And that is going to be the primary job of that bomb squad technician that was down there. Being that this was a bomb squad truck and they know that something had exploded, it's very possible that there could be other things in that truck that are also explosive. Take a look at this. This is the rear window of one of those LA County Sheriff's patrol units down there that appears to be broken out, very likely from the force of whatever exploded down there. You can see all of that glass there down there at the bottom. Now, the one just to the left of it, that one appears to be intact, but the one on the end of the parking space there is broken.
Wow.
This could be an indication that the blast may have come from the side of that bomb truck, where other vehicles may have been sheltered from the blast because they were on the opposite side of the truck. It's unclear, but you can see that that's a good 50 feet away from that bomb truck, and it was able to shatter the window. So a very powerful blast this morning.
Can I just say how brave that bomb technician is, that in this situation having to suit up, and what I was reading is about 90 pounds of gear to go in to make sure that he or she is safe, just investigating what may have occurred, and as Mark said, making sure that there aren't any other threats to the area. So we thank that person for going in to do that at this point in town. It's fascinating to watch too, as they have to come out and there's the fire truck there
blocking the way.
all
then
that
it
type.
seemed to be removing the gear from them piece by piece, but it was just showing you how much goes into what they're wearing. You can only imagine what they feel like in this moment. And of course, we still haven't gotten really official word on what's happened here, the threat, or what officials are finding out in these moments. So it's just, I'm sure, just as harrowing and stressful for those involved in the situation.
A few minutes ago from SkyCal, we were able to see kind of what you're looking at now. There looks to be some officials who have arrived on scene. We're not close enough to see if Sheriff Robert Luna is there, if these are FBI agents, if these are ATF, but it looks like there are some briefings going on. So this occurred around 7:30 this morning. The reports of an explosion came in at that point in time. We know that 3 deputies have died. You now see these officials gathering after that bomb technician just came out of that tent you see there next to the fire truck. So I'm assuming we will probably start getting more information within the next hour. So stay with KCAL News at 10 o'clock, which will be happening in just a few minutes, because this is still a very developing situation.
Absolutely. In the immediate aftermath, we saw many cars coming out of this facility. I'm sure getting everyone out of the facility who didn't need to be there for this investigation, or, you know, for what's going to happen in the aftermath for the rest of the day. We've seen that slow down, and now it seems really focused on that area where the explosion actually took place and making sure that it is secure, I'm sure, so they can go in and reach the deputies who were killed in this explosion.
You see SkyCal has zoomed in now on these officials, likely briefing one another on what potentially did happen. As Mark Liu has been reporting, a number of officials from all types of different departments, local, state, and federal, on site. They're all going to want to be able to get the right information out now that this has taken over just such a national spotlight as well. You can see many national organizations reporting what has been taking place here in Los Angeles.
All right, but 3 deputies killed in this explosion in East LA at the Sheriff's Department training facility. We, of course, will continue this coverage at 10 o'clock. We're going to switch over. Amy Johnson and Chris Holmstrom will have more on this breaking news in just a moment.